Hello, my brothers and sisters. This is my second attempt to get this lesson recorded. I think I'm going to wind up buying a camera. This one likes to go dark, light and dark and things like that. But let's see if I can get it done. I wanted to talk about a subject that could be, some of my subjects, I guess, are a little bit controversial. This one's concerning work. And work is not a pleasant thing, and I'm the first one to admit it. But it seems to be really a critical thing for survival, speaking in a physical sense. And if we start in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, Paul is, I'm just going to read one verse. Paul is talking to this church and telling them in verse 11, he says, "And that ye study," or would you guys study to be quiet and to do your own business and to work with your own hands as we commanded you. Which, it kind of means, I guess, we need to worry about keeping ourselves busy and what we do, and not being a nosy person that's worried about what everybody else is doing. Which seems to be pretty good advice. Because, the opposite of being a hard worker is being a lazy person. And when you think about, the Bible does a lot of passages on being lazy. And in Proverbs chapter 24, in verse 30 through 34, it says, "I went by the field of the slothful," or lazy person, "and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down." So not only is the vineyard covered with weeds, but even the block or stone wall is crumbling down. It's not being maintained. It says, if we continue in verse 32, it says, "Then I saw and considered it well, and looked upon it, and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep." I think they call these type of people mañanas. Everything can be put off. But he says, the observer, which would be Solomon, he wrote most of the Proverbs, or assembled them, it was interesting learning experience to look and see. And, work is a funny thing because in a lot of ways, besides the benefit of the harvest, if you're a farmer, or the payroll and receiving your checks, doing work creates a sense of self-confidence and accomplishment. If you go to a gym and you say, well, I'm going to go to a gym 3 times a week, I'm going to put in 45 minutes and I'm going to exercise hard and try to keep myself kept in shape. And if you've ever done that, you'll notice that at the end of the session, your workout session, that you have kind of a sense of accomplishment and a sense of well-being because you have put in this time and exercise. I think the body produces a chemical for the brain called endorphins that will give you that sense of self-satisfaction and success and empowerment. But there's another way to get around that. And even if you don't accomplish anything ever, all you have to do is take some drugs. And you can get that sense of well-being, sense of accomplishment, sense of empowerment, and you bypassed the real problem, which is nobody likes to work. And so you can get the euphoric, I'm doing good, I'm great. In fact, I see people that are completely slammed on drugs, directing traffic and doing all these interesting things, standing halfway in the road, telling people what to do, and they're just hallucinating. Feeling pretty good about it though. And it's a form of witchcraft, witchcraft, pharmacopoeia, taking pharmaceuticals or synthesized products that can alter the mind. But really, it's a deep demonic thing. And never accomplishing anything other than you take that and you bypassed having to do any real work to earn the good feeling. Of course, it wears off fairly quickly, and that's okay. Just take more. In fact, I knew a guy, he hated work, and he no one wanted to put up with him too much because he didn't do anything, and he would wound up, he liked going down to the Bosque. There's a whole crew of people that stay at the Bosque, and they party continually, and they never work. I think he would sell some of his meth or something to make a little bit of money. I think he got in trouble with the people that was giving him the meth to sell because he'd blow their money or didn't give them their money or whatever. But it is a Catch22 lifestyle. And you can see whole city, sidewalk cities, where this has become a way of life. I'm not saying everybody that's homeless or has to sleep outside is, in the same situation. I'm saying that there are a large segment of them that just want to party 7 days a week, 24/7, right? And he would come, after he got too exhausted, too tired, too worn out, and he would want to get some rest. Could I stay asleep in your camper or whatever, right? He could sleep for 3 days straight. But as soon as he woke up, the call of the Bosque was there, and he would have to go back, and he could stay another 7 days of, partying. And it seems like we're almost being encouraged in some ways to do this. You don't have to work. If you're on drugs, we'll give you the paraphernalia to do this. And I even noticed that in a lot of ways, this is being promoted. And believe me, you say, well, Ed, are you getting political? Well, a person that's political is someone that's saying this is a good party, this is a bad party. And what I'm saying is, most politicians, it doesn't matter what party they are. Maybe one party a little better than the other, but really for the most part, all of them are about the same. encouraging ways to get people not to work, and then maybe they'll vote for me because I'm going to provide their this, house, medical, this, and food, and even their drug paraphernalia, So, but work has a benefit not only in what you make, but how you feel. And it has another benefit also. So if you look in Ephesians chapter 4, in verse 28, it says, "Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the thing which is good." And that is one of the byproducts of, when you don't work, but you do need some money, and you wind up stealing to get some money, and it'll buy the drugs, maybe even buy you a few snacks. But the areas where the drugs have taken over neighborhoods and segments of the city seem to wind up decaying. And even the businesses that are there decide it's impossible to stay and start selling out and moving on to a place where it isn't completely overwhelmed with this problem of people that want to party and do not want to work, and shoplifting isn't really being prosecuted to any extent, and so the business just fold up and move on. And someday there won't be any place to move to. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. And when it says needeth, it doesn't mean that you were partying and didn't work. It means that because of some physical problem, you couldn't work, or some situation came up that you couldn't work and you needed the help. And this is something that the brethren are supposed to do for each other in a church, a local church. But why did God make it that the only way that we can make it is through work? It didn't start out that way. In the Garden of Eden, everything was there. I mean, any of the trees, they all bore the best fruits. Very little to do, dress and keep it. There was no thorns and thistles or any of this that you had to pluck weeds and do that. The earth was not cursed at that point. But it's interesting if you go to Genesis chapter 3 and look in if you look in chapter 3 verse 19, it says, God speaking, he says, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return." So you see, well, this is pretty rough. The God, this isn't nice that God's making man work and sweat, but actually, if you go back up 2 verses, it'll tell you why he did it. Unto the woman he said, or in verse 17, unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake, Adam. I'm doing this for you, because this is the only thing that will help you. This is what mankind needs. The challenge of work. You know, there's little sayings people have, idle hands to the devil's playground. Well, apparently so, because when Adam and Eve didn't have much to do, Satan sure worked them over, right? So work is not a bad thing. It is for our sakes that God did this. No matter what society wants to tell you, we'll cover your medical, we'll cover your housing, we'll cover your food, we'll cover your drug paraphernalia, we'll take care of your kids, we'll do everything, you just sit down, right? It's a recipe for failure for mankind. My last verse makes it even clear in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, starting in verse 10. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies, have nothing to do but be a Tia Clara, or Gladys Kravitz. Aunt Claire, I think, was Andy Griffith. Gladys Kravitz was Bewitched, always looking out their window, trying to get the latest gossip. Nothing for them to do to try to make something or manufacture something. In fact, I think if some of our politicians actually knew what work was about, instead of worrying about what we're doing with our hands and what profit we're trying to make, and how much they can extract of that to buy off people to not work and provide all their needs. And again, I'm not talking any parties. This is a problem with mankind. Money is the root of all evil, and greed. Think about it. It's good. I'm no better than anyone else. If I can figure out a way to do something or not do something or do something very easily, I'm sure game. I ask that you please, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know I'm doing something right. And if you've subscribed, push that bell, and then that way you get notified. Or if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and push the bell so you'll get notified. I put these videos out every 2 weeks. And I hope that somehow it may have spoken something to you. And I would like to pray now. Father in God, I appreciate every soul that took a little time to watch my message, and I hope my message is in conformity, Lord, with your word and your will. Forgive me for where I have failed in the same.